Steam rises off dew-soaked grass as a pair of worn leather boots crunch across gravel. The distant lowing of cattle is absent, replaced by something else. The whir of a leaf blower, the bark of golden retrievers, the faint jingle of wind chimes. Zeke Thornfield freezes mid-step. He adjusts the strap on his thermos, the metal body worn with decades of black coffee and early mornings. A man built from the same stuff as the land beneath his boots. 67. Stoic. His flannel shirt clings to him in the damp morning air. But what chills him isn't the cold. It's the scent. Pine mulch, fresh paint, synthetic lawn fertilizer. Not the wild honeysuckle, hay, or cattle sweat he's known since boyhood. Zeke crests the ridge and stops dead in his tracks. Below him, the landscape is unrecognizable. Where pasture once rolled wide and golden, a sea of rooftops glint in the rising sun. Cookie-cutter homes in perfect rows. Flagpoles, SUVs, vinyl siding in tasteful pastels. A brand-new sign, gaudy, oversized, and planted where his grandfather once taught him to plow straight furrows. Reads, Heritage Meadows, a Bradford living community. Zeke doesn't move. Not a blink. Just the thermos slipping from his hand and bouncing off a limestone rock. Coffee erupting like blood from a wound. Int. Zane's truck. Moments later, the cab smells like diesel and chewing tobacco. Maps are crumpled on the dash. A faded photo of a woman in a wide-brimmed hat is clipped to the visor. He fumbles with his phone, calling the only number saved under local. Zeke. Low. Tense Clarence, it's happened. They're here. Int. Heritage Meadows. Main Street. Later, families in yoga pants and lawn chairs wave cheerily at golf carts that hum along pristine sidewalks. Kids draw with chalk. A food truck offers cold brew and kombucha. And through it all, Zeke walks like a ghost in broad daylight. Nobody notices him at first. He's invisible until a woman steps off a porch, arms crossed, wearing an HOA badge like a sheriff's star. Victoria Vickyfort. Bleach blonde. Perfect posture. Her expression is all honey poison. Vicky, sweetly condescending, sir. You're not supposed to be here. This is a private community. Zeke stares past her at a tree in the distance. An ancient white oak with initials carved in its bark. Z plus M. Martha, his late wife. Her initials still live on the land, even if nothing else does. He turns back to Vicky. Zeke, quiet, steady, this is my land. Vicky laughs. Oh, honey, you're mistaken. This entire development was purchased legally. 2 years ago, Millbrook Development Corporation handled everything. Maybe you're confused. Her clipboard clicks open like a weapon being cocked. Zeke doesn't flinch. Zeke, I've walked this land every morning for 40 years. The dirt knows my boots better than it knows yours. She stiffens. Vicky, smiling, well, unfortunately, confusion isn't a legal defense. But since you're here, maybe you'd like to speak to our legal team? Or, better yet, move along before I have to call security. Zeke steps closer, his eyes level. Zeke, my grandfather's deed predates your subdivision, your clipboard, and whatever con Brad's running out of City Hall. Vicky, venom beneath her smile. You're trespassing, mister. Zeke, Thornfield. Vicky freezes. For the first time, a flicker of something crosses her face. Recognition, but it's gone as quickly as it came. Vicky, syrupy again, well, Mr. Thornfield, let's not make this unpleasant. You should leave. For everyone's safety. Zeke, nodding slowly, safety. Right. He turns and walks away, but not in retreat. In calculation. EXT. Zeke's farmhouse. That night, thunder rolls on the horizon. Zeke sits alone on the porch. The porch light flickers. His thermos is filled again. On the table beside him is a worn leather-bound folder. Inside, surveys, maps, notarized deeds, a 1924 easement contract. His hand lingers on a photograph, his grandfather standing beside a rail line, ink stamped with the federal seal. Zeke, to the photo, to the wind, they don't know who they're messing with. The wind howls through the oaks. Zeke sips his coffee and stares into the night. Ceiling fans creak above yellowed files and coffee-stained desk calendars. Zeke stands at the counter, watching a young clerk chew gum like it's the only thing keeping her awake. She squints at her monitor. Clerk, there's no record of a recent sale on Thornfield Parcel 302B, but it says transferred, 2021 Millbrook Dev Corp. Huh, that's weird. Zeke, weird how? Clerk shrugs. There's no witness affidavit. Should be one. Big land transfer like that. Should have cost thousands to file. This says $50. Zeke nods once, slowly. Zeke, mind if I take a picture of that? Clerk, sure, but be careful, mister. Folks round here don't like stirring that pot. EXT, Town Square. Later, Zeke walks past the post office and the old hardware store with the crooked flagpole. Sweetwater Springs hasn't changed much since the 70s, except the names on the office doors. He pauses outside a real estate agency window. On the glass, Brad Ashworth, councilman, veteran, visionary. Inside, Brad poses with smiling families and ribbon-cutting photos. Framed certificates line the walls like trophies. Zeke's reflection stares back at him. Sun-worn face, eyes like weathered stone. He moves on. Int. Zeke's farmhouse. Night the old farmhouse groans in the wind. Inside, maps are spread across the table. Deeds, legal codes, land surveys layered like battle plans. His fingers trace boundary lines with the precision of a surgeon. Zeke, softly to himself, still mine. Every square inch. Suddenly, headlights flood the window. Zeke kills the lamp. A white SUV idles just beyond the fence line. Eikte. Farmhouse. Moments later, Zeke steps onto the porch with a flashlight and the calm of a man who's faced worse than drive-bys. The SUV backs away, tires crackling on gravel. Its taillights vanish down the county road. But the message is clear. He's being watched. Int. Heritage Meadows Facebook group. The next day, Zeke Thornfield threatens children with survey equipment. Photos of Zeke, distorted with filters, appear beside captions like dangerous, unstable, and ex-military. The post is made by Victoria Ashworth. The comments section explodes. We'll let this psycho near our kids. Is he armed? We need patrols. My dog barked last night. Coincidence? I think not. Zeke scrolls through it in silence, lips pressed tight. Int. Kitchen. Later the phone rings. He lets it go to voicemail. Daughter, Vio. Hey, Dad. I saw something weird online. Are you okay? Call me, please. We love you. He closes his eyes. The past comes in waves. Martha on the porch, laughing as the wind lifted her dress. The kids running through the hay fields. A life of soil, sweat, and Sundays that smelled like peach cobbler and wood smoke. Now, paranoia, lies, and Facebook mobs. Int. Sweetwater Sheriff's Office. 2 days later, Deputy Mike Ashworth, Vicky's cousin, delivers a restraining order across the desk like it's a birthday card. Mike, smirking, you're legally barred from entering Heritage Meadows. For the safety of the residents. Zeke, it's my land. Mike, not anymore. Paperwork says otherwise. Don't like it? Take it up with the judge. He chuckles. Zeke, coldly I plan to. Int. Farmhouse. Night rain lashes the tin roof. Zeke pulls on a raincoat and grabs his flashlight. His boots stomp mud as he walks the old fence line. He stops. In the trees, glinting. Cameras. Hidden. Aimed at his house. Cables snaking into the brush. A tap into his own power meter. He crouches, fingers brushing exposed wires. The hum of electricity. Une autorise de surveillance. On his grid, he exhales slowly, then turns toward the barn. Int. Barn. Later, dust hangs in the beam of a single work light. Zeke opens a metal cabinet and pulls out an old surveyor's bag. Inside, field notebooks, a weather-beaten compass, and something heavier, a railroad contract, 1924, sealed in a leather folio. His hands linger on the faded signature of his grandfather. Then he pulls out a recorder and presses record. Zeke, into Mike, Heritage Meadows is built illegally across parcels 302B through 302F. I'll start cataloging infractions tomorrow. A beat. Zeke, quietly, they declared war with a clipboard. I'm answering with the truth. He clicks off the recorder and stares into the dark. Dust hangs thick in the slanted sunlight, filtering through rusted window grates. Shelves sag with boxes labeled in faded marker. Land transfers, 1980, present, surveyor logs, probate, disputes pending. Zeke stands alone, sweat beading beneath his collar despite the cool air. His hand trembles slightly as he lifts a folder. Inside, a document stamped Millbrook Development Corporation, naming 847 acres as purchased for $50. Signed, witnessed, notarized. But the notary? Eleanor Hutchkins. Died 6 months before the signature date. Zeke exhales through his nose, slow and cold. Zeke, whispering dead woman signing deeds. Now we're getting somewhere. Int. Diner. Evening ceiling fans creak as locals murmur over meatloaf and fried okra. Zeke sits alone in a corner booth, flipping through the forged paperwork under a napkin. A voice cuts through the clink of forks and salt shakers. Voice, mind if I sit? Zeke looks up. A woman stands with a worn notebook and sharp eyes. Not from here. Boots too clean. Hair tied in a city newsroom bun. But her eyes say she's seen things worse than HOA politics. Ruby Morgan, investigative journalist, recently exiled from Nashville media after exposing a crooked senator. Ruby, I've been following this story. We're trying to. It smells like fertilizer and cover-ups. Zeke eyes her carefully. Zeke, you a lawyer? Ruby, smiling worse. A reporter. The kind who doesn't flinch when people threaten lawsuits. She slides a recorder onto the table. Ruby, mind telling me why your pasture is full of playgrounds and golden retrievers? Int. Farmhouse. Night the kitchen table is now a war room. Maps, deeds, photographs, digital printouts. Ruby paces. Zeke sits, staring at his grandfather's contract. Ruby, Brad Ashworth has a juvenile record sealed in Kentucky. Real estate fraud. Minor at the time. But the pattern's there. She points to a printed screenshot of a website captured from an online archive. Ruby, this development was listed as coming soon a full year before the purchase date. They knew the land was valuable. They just didn't want to pay for it. Zeke runs a hand through his silver hair. Zeke, and now they're building over it. Acting like I'm the lunatic. Ruby, you're not. But they've built a wall of false legitimacy. If you want to knock it down, you're going to need more than deeds. Int. Vet's office. Next day, Zeke leans over the exam table, watching a veterinarian examine his heifer. Vet, puisuniet. Whatever's leaking into that pasture, it ain't natural. He hands Zeke a report. Zeke, murmuring, they're poisoning the land to kill the claim. Int. Ruby's motel room. Night the lamp flickers as Ruby uploads files. Ruby, there's more. HOA security cameras wired into your power grid. Surveillance without consent is a felony. You've got tampering, fraud, trespassing, environmental crime. They're not just stupid, they're criminal. Zeke doesn't respond right away. He's staring out the window. Zeke, quietly, Martha planted roses along that fence line. Every year, she'd talk to him like they were children. She believed the land remembers who loves it. Ruby, softly, then let's remind it who it belongs to. Int. Sweetwater Springs Town Hall. Day Zeke walks into the lobby, wearing his best Sunday shirt. His boots echo across the marble floor as he passes campaign photos of Brad shaking hands and kissing babies. A woman at the front desk offers a practice smile. Clerk, can I help you? Zeke sets down a folder. Zeke, yes. I'd like to request a jury trial for a land dispute. Clerk, blinks, you sure, sir? These things take years. Zeke, without hesitation, I've got time. It's my land, and I'm done asking nicely. Int. Heritage Meadows. Night, a bounce house squeaks in the wind. Porch lights flicker on like a row of eyes. Behind the clubhouse, Ruby sets up a hidden trail cam. Zeke holds a ladder. Ruby, smile. HOA Karen. You're about to star in your own documentary. Int. Zeke's bedroom. Later, Zeke sits on the edge of his bed. In his lap, a weathered leather journal. Martha's handwriting. Zeke never backs down when someone tries to steal what's rightfully his. He closes the journal. Zeke, to himself, time to wake the whole damn county. The folding chairs creak under the weight of silence. A dozen Heritage Meadows residents sit with their arms crossed, eyes shifting like they're expecting a sermon or a sting. Tension ripples beneath the surface. Fear, confusion, betrayal. At the front, Zeke Thornfield stands beside a corkboard of evidence. Forged signatures, drone photos, environmental reports. Ruby clicks through a slideshow, her voice calm but unflinching. Ruby, everything built on that land, from your houses to your HOA clubhouse, was done illegally. The Ashworths forged the notary. They poisoned the creek. And they used your trust to bankroll their fraud. Manning crowd. Angrily, you're saying we don't own our homes? Zeke, I'm saying they sold you a dream on land they never had the right to touch. A young mother, Maria Santos, clutches a folder in her lap. Her lip trembles. She looks down at a crayon drawing sticking out. A house with a picket fence, a dog, and a smiling son. Maria, softly, my girls have their own rooms. They sleep with the window open. They think this is home. Zeke meets her eyes. His voice doesn't rise, but every word lands like a hammer. Zeke, I'm not here to take away your home. I'm here to take back my land and make sure the people who lied to both of us pay for it. EXT, Heritage Meadows. Night golf carts hum by like nervous insects. Security patrols check their radios. Every porch light in the subdivision is on, glowing artificial and sterile. In the shadows beyond the tree line, Zeke crouches beside Ruby and Clarence Bulldog McKenzie, the crusty old surveyor with a GPS rig strapped to his back. Bulldog, grumbling, lines are off by 200 feet. Deliberate. Stake removed, probably while you were in Oregon. Ruby, we have satellite proof. Time stamped, location matched. And that clause from your grandfather's easement? It kicks in now. Zeke, quietly, every structure becomes mine. On paper. But the people, they're still in the dark. Int. Mayor's office. Next morning, Brad Ashworth slams a folder on the desk. Brad, I want to vote to annex Heritage Meadows into the city limits. Emergency session. We bury this thing now. Mayor, nervously Brad, the EPA, the state licensing board, we can't just sweep this under the rug anymore. Brad, leaning in, you like your job? Then you'll get this vote passed. I'll handle the rest. Int. Ruby's motel room. Night the walls are plastered with evidence. Documents, photos, red string connecting conspiracy to corruption like arteries in a criminal heart. Zeke sits slumped in a chair. He looks older than before. Not broken, but worn. Zeke, they're going to steamroll it. They'll vote, annex, and rewrite the map. Ruby, not if we hit back harder. She hands him a flash drive. Ruby, this has the whole timeline. Financial fraud, environmental damage, federal law violations. And guess what? Vicky scheduled a community festival the same day as the annexation vote. Balloons, face painting, bounce houses. Zeke's eyes narrow. Zeke, she's throwing a damn party to hide a land grab. Ruby, good. Let her, because that's when we drop the hammer. Int. Hospital room. Next day, Zeke lies still under fluorescent lights. A heart monitor beeps. His daughter, Sarah, stands at the foot of the bed. Sarah, I got the call from Ruby. Chest pains, Dad. You were poisoned. The vet said your cows are dying. You've got federal agents in your barn and Facebook calling you a terrorist. Why are you still fighting? Zeke's voice is gravel. Zeke, because this land's got my wife's roses, my grandfather's trees, and a century of sweat in the soil. If I don't fight, they don't just steal acreage, they steal legacy. She wipes tears from her cheek. Sarah, then we fight smarter. You don't have to do this alone anymore. Int. Federal building. Night Ruby meets with a team of prosecutors and EPA agents. Maps cover the table. EPA officer. We've confirmed it. Wetlands. Federally protected. They poured concrete over endangered habitat. That's not just zoning fraud. That's a felony with $25,000 daily fines. Federal prosecutor wins the festival. Ruby grinning 3 days. And I suggest we bring cameras. EXT, cemetery, sunset. Zeke kneels beside Martha's grave, the last light of day dancing off the carved stone. He places a small bouquet of climbing roses. Her favorites. Zeke, Softly, I promised I'd keep it safe. It took me longer than I'd like, but I'm not done yet. The wind moves through the trees, whispering across the hill. A brass band blares beneath a rented archway that reads, Community Roots, a heritage celebration. Balloons bob. Face painters daub glitter on toddlers. Real estate reps hand out flyers and mini flags. Grills smoke beside the HOA-branded bounce house. Vicky Ashworth stands center stage in white slacks and a lavender blouse. Microphone in hand, her voice syrupy and booming through the speakers. Vicky, today we celebrate a thriving community built on family, faith, and forward vision. The crowd claps. Cameras flash. Her smile gleams like polished silver. She doesn't see the black SUV pulling up behind the main tent. Int. SUV. Same time inside. Zeke stares ahead, face unreadable. Ruby sits beside him, laptop open, live stream ready. In the back seat, 2 federal agents check badges and folders. Ruby, quietly, you sure about this? Zeke nods once. Zeke, they paved over everything. Now I return the favor, with truth. EXT. Festival grounds. Moments later the speakers crackle. The music halts. Vicky turns, confused. From a mobile projection screen on a truck bed, a video begins to play. Audio from Ruby's investigation overlays a drone shot of Heritage Meadows. Ruby VO, this development was built on a legally seized land. The deed was forged. The notary died 6 months before the signing. The HOA siphoned energy to conduct unauthorized surveillance. And they paved wetlands federally protected by law. Crowd murmurs. Faces turn. Whispers grow louder. Cut to surveillance footage of Vicky threatening residents, a time-lapse of bulldozers covering marshland. EPA reports with damning water contamination stats. Brad Ashworth signing falsified permits. Children stop bouncing. Lawn chairs go still. A mother clutches her stroller like it might float away. Zeke walks through the crowd. Not hidden, not loud, just steady, like a man walking across his own front porch. Maria Santos shouts from the crowd. You lied to us. Another voice. You poisoned our wells? Vicky scrambles for the mic. Vicky, desperate, this is fake news. Manufactured. This man is unstable. He's trespassing. Zeke, into Mike, I've trespassed nowhere. This land, every inch you're standing on, still bears my family's name on federal records. Y'all just didn't bother to look beneath the concrete. A federal agent steps forward, holding up a badge. Agent, Victoria Ashworth, Bradley Ashworth. You're under investigation for multiple counts of land fraud, conspiracy, and violation of the Clean Water Act. You are not to leave the premises. Brad tries to flee, but a second agent blocks his path. Crowd erupts, not in chaos, in clarity. The fog of HOA threats and Facebook lies lifts all at once. Vicky's voice breaks. Vicky, we built a community. We gave these people homes. Zeke turns toward her. Vicky, no. You built a house of cards. You sold them something that was never yours to give. EXT, Clubhouse. Later, as agents search HOA offices, families gather their children. Real estate signs are ripped from lawns. Zeke walks slowly to the oak tree with carved initials. Z+M. The roots of the tree curl beneath the concrete like fists waiting for daylight. He places a hand on the bark. Ruby approaches quietly. Ruby, you did it. Zeke, gently. I reminded the land who loved it first. He reaches into his coat, pulling out a small vial of seeds. Martha's climbing roses, saved all these years. He sprinkles them near the base of the oak. EXT, local news station. Evening broadcast, the screen shows footage of the arrests. EPA officers cordoning off construction zones, and interviews with stunned residents. Anchorwoman, VO, local hero Ezekiel Thornfield, 67, is credited with exposing one of the most egregious cases of rural land fraud in recent memory. Federal investigations are ongoing. EXT. Hilltop. Sunset. Zeke stands alone, watching the last of the bounce houses being deflated. Trucks haul away folding chairs and banners. The sky blazes in hues of violet and gold. Clarence Bulldog, pulls up beside him. Bulldog, you know they're going to try to rebuild. Zeke, then I'll still be here. The land doesn't forget, and neither do I. A breeze stirs the grass. Somewhere, faint and sweet, the smell of fresh earth and blooming roses. There are no more wind chimes or realtor signs. Only wind. The houses are empty now. Some stand with boarded windows. Others sit half-demolished like skeletons caught mid-step. Weeds grow wild along the sidewalks. Vines curl up porch rails like they've come home. And at the center of it all, under the old oak tree, roses bloom. Not the store-bought kind. The kind with thorns. The kind Martha once whispered to, promising they'd make it through the frost. Int. County courthouse. Press room. Date cameras flash. A federal prosecutor steps up to a podium. Behind her are charts, maps, and photos of the destruction. Prosecutor. The Sweetwater Springs case has resulted in 6 federal indictments, 8 arrests, and the permanent suspension of Millbrook Development Corporation's license. All homeowners affected are being offered full relocation compensation and clean title transfers, funded through seizure of illicit HOA funds and developer assets. Reporters shout questions. Flashbulbs pop. But Zeke isn't here to hear it. He's elsewhere. EXT. Restoration site. Former Meadows property. Day heavy machines clear rubble under strict EPA supervision. Biologists flag wetland areas. Volunteers plant native grasses and trees. The land breathes again. Zeke walks the field with Ruby and Clarence. A clipboard in one hand, a thermos in the other. Ruby feels poetic. Bulldozers took this land. Now bulldozers give it back. Clarence. Funny, ain't it? The land don't need much. Just someone willing to listen. Zeke stops near the old drainage ditch, now a protected stream, and watches a young woman release a net full of fish into the water. Zeke, Martha used to say, we don't own the land. We're just stewards with a long lease. He sets the thermos down, kneels, and drives a fresh wooden stake into the earth. On it, a carved plaque. Thornfield Meadows, protected forever, INT. Farmhouse. Night the house hums with quiet life. Tools back on the walls. Boots lined up by the door. A faint scent of beeswax and rose oil. On the windowsill, a single HOA violation notice has been framed and hung like a joke, the one accusing Zeke of having unauthorized barn clutter. In the dining room, Sarah and her 2 children set the table. Laughter. Dishes clink. The smell of baked apples and cornbread. Zeke pours sweet tea and watches the light catch his granddaughter's curls. Sarah, smiling, still think this place is too small? Zeke, grinning, only when you're all talking at once. Int. Ruby's newsroom. Montage TV screens show the documentary she made, The Man Who Owned the Ground They Stood On. It trends nationally. Articles pour in, the HOA that tried to swallow a town, how one man beat a billion-dollar machine. Ruby walks through the bustling newsroom, pausing only to glance at a photo on her desk. Her and Zeke beside the oak, dirt on their hands, pride in their eyes. EXT. Hill above the restored land. Sunset Zeke sits on the same hill where the story began. The sun casts long shadows across freshly seeded grass. In the distance, deer graze where driveways once ran. Beside him, his old thermos. A notebook, and the sound of the world returning to itself. He opens the notebook, Martha's journal. Pages of recipes, pressed leaves, bits of poetry. On one dog-eared page, land remembers the ones who walked it with love. It grows in the shape of their footsteps. Zeke reads it slowly, then looks up. The land is quiet, but not empty. Never empty. Final shot, a wide aerial view. The subdivision is gone. Nature reclaims its edges. But at the center, a blooming rose trellis wraps around the old oak. From the air, the shape of the new meadow forms something subtle, but unmistakable, the outline of a heart. Fade to black text on screen, inspired by true stories of land fraud, environmental justice, and the unyielding resilience of rural communities.